Our big Facebook topic today is, who do you want to see in the contest to succeed Mary McAleese as President of Ireland? Well, it seems Fine Gael have three contenders in the fray for the party's nomination: Gay Mitchell, Mairead McGuinness and Pat Cox, assuming he is admitted to the party. Taoiseach Enda Kenny isn't picking a favourite. Now, on the Labour side, Fergus Finlay and Michael D. Higgins want to get the nod, and it appears both Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin won't field any candidate. So that leaves much of the focus on the independents, who need the support of 4 local authorities or 20 members of the Oireachtas if they are to be included on the ticket. Senator David Norris, who has Laois connections, was first out of the blocks to canvass local authorities. He appeared before Carlow, Wexford and Waterford County Councils yesterday. And with Fine Gael controlling so many councils and the party instructing its members not to support anybody but their own candidate, the question becomes, can independents make a breakthrough? Well, whenever we need some analysis or some numbers to be crunched, we call Adrian Kavanagh, another Laois native and a lecturer at NUI Maynooth. Adrian, you're welcome to the programme.
Hi Will, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Can the independents make up the numbers, in your view?
They can, by means of Oireachtas nominations, Will. I did a bit of a number crunch just before I came on there, and I've worked out that if you add in Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin, United Left Alliance and independents, there's roughly 81 non-Labour, non-Fine Gael members of the Oireachtas who could nominate presidential candidates. So there's enough nominees from the Oireachtas itself to nominate 4 different candidates.
Do you think the candidates are so convinced? Why else would they be looking to local authorities for support?
Well, I suppose they have to cover their basis. If you can't really rely that you're going to get the nominations, you can look at the parties involved and you might say, well, Sean Gallagher's linked to Fianna Fáil, so he'd probably get a number of nominations from Fianna Fáil. You'd expect possibly Niall Dowds could do well by getting a good number of nominations from Sinn Féin. But you really have to cover your bases. The other angle as well is these trips to talk to the local authorities. Effectively, it's almost the start of your campaign. You're going down to the country, not exactly to meet the people, but at least you're getting your face seen in different counties such as Carlow, Waterford and Wexford, as David Norris did there on Monday.
So again, it comes back to the certain parochial element of politics. All politics is local, and the higher your profile in individual areas, the more benefit it will have when the campaign gets into full swing.
Yeah, and as the example of Mary Robinson back in 1990 showed, there's nothing wrong with starting your campaign early. You might remember she started her campaign a number of months before Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael selected their candidates. So there's nothing wrong in starting early. There's still a long time to go before the official nomination period begins in September, and indeed probably the start of the election campaign proper sometime in October, probably looking at an election then in November. So there's still a long way to go.
Well, is there any merit in the candidates trying to secure the support of the local authorities other than the optics or the publicity that goes with it? Could, for instance, with Fine Gael having such a stranglehold on councils around the country, could there be any hope of securing 4 endorsements?
That's a good question. Basically, it all probably boils down to the attitude of the other parties then. If Labour allow their members a free vote in the councils, then there's enough councils across Ireland where Fine Gael don't have an absolute majority. And it might be a case of certain Fine Gael members maybe opting to abstain rather than vote against certain candidates. So it all depends how it plays out. But there'd probably be enough, especially in the Dublin region, enough councils where Fine Gael don't hold an absolute majority. And there'd be enough non-Fine Gael councillors on the council to draw up enough votes to support a nomination.
And does the rule allow for overlap? Say if David Norris secures the support of 4 local authorities, or 20 TDs or senators for that matter, Mary Davis comes along, can the same authorities endorse her?
I think, as far as I understand it, an authority can only nominate one candidate.
Right.
That's how I understand it anyway, Will. I'm not a total expert on this, but I'd be nearly sure that's the case.
So that really puts the impetus back on TDs and senators of the non-governmental parties to throw their support behind some of these independent candidates, because otherwise there won't be room for all of them.
No. As I said, at the moment, if you look at the likely people involved from the independent wings, you're looking at Sean Gallagher, David Norris, Mary Davis and Niall O'Dowd. So there's 4 candidates there, and they could theoretically get enough nominations between the 4 of them from the Oireachtas itself. But
in practice, who do you consider to be the strongest contenders, though?
It's a good question. To be honest, Will, presidential elections are very funny. You never know how they're going to pan out. If we are to have had this discussion at this time back in 1990, we'd have been nearly certain that the winner of that election would have been Brian Lenihan. In 1997, if we had been having this discussion, we wouldn't have been mentioning Mary McAleese. And even Mary McAleese didn't really become established as the front-runner in her election until a few weeks before the actual election took place, and she won it quite comfortably in the end. Looking at who's involved, it looks as if Gay Mitchell at the moment seems the most likely person to win the Fine Gael nomination. The Labour Party nomination, which the voting that's taken place over the weekend, that's probably a bit harder to call. You've Kathleen O'Mara, but I would expect that's going to be very close between Fergus Finlay and Michael D. Higgins. My gut reaction would be, given his long term as chairman of the party, maybe Michael D. Higgins might have more of a basis in the party to just edge that one out. And then you're looking at the strongest of the independents. It's probably, assuming the government's popularity levels will probably be declining, and as is natural for a government, it probably could be a good election to be fighting as an independent candidate, I'm thinking. And my suspicion is Mary Davis could be the one to beat.
Okay.
I did put a few bob in her last night. So
Did you? At what odds?
She was 14-1 with Paddy Power, which was quite good odds, but possibly not the same this morning.
Very interesting. Adrian Kavanagh, as always, a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Will.
Now, as we mentioned, the independent candidates can either secure the support of 20 members of the Oireachtas or the endorsement of 4 local authorities. The problem for them is that most local authorities around the country are dominated by Fine Gael or Labour. Fine Gael has instructed its members not to endorse any candidate other than the party's own. But if we look to the Midlands here, Fine Gael again very much in the dominant position on Laois County Council, in a strong position along with Labour on Westmeath County Council, but Fianna Fáil controls Offaly County Council, and from all appearances the party is not going to run a candidate of its own. Danny Owens joins us. He's the chair of Offaly County Council. Danny, you're very welcome to the programme.
Thanks, Phil.
Have you been giving any thought to what approach you will take if David Norris, Mary Davis, Sean Gallagher, any of these independents come knocking at your door?
Well, we haven't. To date, we've met with 2 of the candidates, but individually and as a group, we met Sean Gallagher and Mary Davis met a sort of a cross-party group in actual fact, and then met with various people individually afterwards. So no, there has been no discussions. People, I suppose, maybe in their own minds might have their minds made up as such, but we've had no group discussions as to what the future holds, because it is very early in the day yet. There's a lot that's going to take place before the gun goes off in this election, and I suppose we'll have lots of opportunities to see the candidates in action on TV programs and so on, and probably make a more, have more to make a firm decision, you know. But
when is the deadline by which you have to make up your mind?
Pardon?
When is the deadline by which you have to make up your mind?
Well, I don't know what the deadline. I don't think it's decided yet. I think it's likely to be in August, as far as I know, but I can't be sure about that. All we do know is that the election will be in October. Even the date for that hasn't been fixed yet. So, but the inauguration will be in early November. The dates in relation to the gun going off on the election hasn't been decided yet, and until that, no county council can make a decision on it.
Your own party doesn't seem likely to field a candidate, or at least that's the speculation. Has there been any instruction from headquarters as to what line you're supposed to take on independence, or is it up to you locally?
Well, our own party haven't decided yet. I know that discussions will be taking place in the course of the month of June, and a decision will be made, I believe, before the end of the month. And until then, I suppose we're going to sit and wait and listen and talk to any prospective candidates who wish to talk to us, and at that stage then we will make an informed decision.
And just to clarify a point that was raised earlier, are local authorities allowed to endorse just one candidate, or can you back multiple candidates?
Well, I'm not sure about that, but I think it would be a bit odd to endorse any more than one. I mean, if you select a candidate from in any kind of a form, it would be unusual to go selecting a second one to run in the same election. So I think it is likely at best that one candidate would be selected.
Given the number of independents now in the contest, do you think it's likely that they could all secure the support of local authorities, given that Fine Gael control so many of them?
Yeah, I think it'll be quite difficult, to be honest with you. Fine Gael, I think there was figures given last night on prime time that there are 13 councils where independents, along with others, could form the majority, and therefore could create the numbers to put somebody to nominate somebody. That's one thing. Another thing is that Fine Gael Labour might decide, for example, to abstain on a vote. So you might need the majority of the councillors. You know, they may decide, depending on who the candidate is and where they're from. For example, Mary Davis is from Mayo. I think it would be difficult for Fine Gael people in Mayo to vote against her if she wanted to run in the election. That's an example of one instance where you might need the full numbers. So I mean, I think, but it will be difficult to get the majorities. But there are only at this stage 3 independents in the field, to the best of my knowledge, and it is possible. Yes, it is possible, but it won't be easy.
Danny Owens, Chairman of Offaly County Council, thanks for taking our call this morning.
Okay, but